I work on a ship, and I spend a few weeks on board, fishing for different fish, and then a few weeks on land. It's actually a lot better pay than a lot of people would think, and that's probably because it takes a special kind of person to spend a few weeks at a time out at sea. Look, I'm not a fancy or even a smart guy. I just do whatever kind of work necessary that gives me money to stay alive for the next few weeks. What's great about those weeks out on the sea is I really don't have to worry about making money. And I definitely like being out at sea more than being on land. There's just too much to worry about on land. At sea, I only have to worry about getting a good load of catch. Or I only had to worry about it. Now, I'm not gonna go out there ever again. You see, what happened was that me and the crew met up at our ship. We were 7 guys plus our captain, who was already at the ship when we came down there. Our captain started off by yelling, "What the fuck are you guys doing being this late? We gotta go now!" And we were all a bit confused. I mean, we were fucking early. The time was about 10 to 4 in the morning. In the business, that's a bit late, I'll admit, but we were told to be there by 4. But we all rushed aboard and cast off as soon as we could. When we had left the harbor, we asked the captain what the hell he meant about us being late. "I told you that we cast off at 4, not that you should be here at 4, he answered. Well, all 7 of us told him that he had in fact said to meet him at 4. He grunted, told us to fuck off, and that we should start getting ready for a long voyage. He had heard about a new place from a guy he met a few weeks before at a seaport bar. The guy had told him that he too was a captain of a ship and that they had gotten all kinds of great stuff out in this one particular place in the middle of goddamn nowhere. They had talked about going out there together with their crews and actually started talking real business before they went home that night. The guy was killed in a fight on his way home. He apparently bumped into a few unfriendly guys, and then they beat him until he stopped moving. Really makes you realize what kind of place this is. Not even just a very unpleasant harbor, but sometimes more. Our captain had been intrigued by the guy's stories, and by the fact that he had never been out fishing in that part of the ocean before. It's usually a place avoided by sailors because of how remote it is. But, of course, we decided to go there and try our luck. Now, I told you, this was out in the middle of nowhere in the ocean, and that we are usually out for a few weeks at a time. Do you get a clue of how remote this place is? We had been out for about a week towards the place when we went into rough seas. Nothing we weren't used to, but still enough to be discouraging. We kept on going and didn't think too much of it. The sea just kept getting worse and worse. Myself and 2 other guys started to think that maybe we should tell the captain to turn back around. But just a day later, the waters calmed down, and we would, by our calculations, be almost there. Our compass had stopped working though. It was going absolutely haywire, but we used the sun and the stars to guide us. We couldn't get an exact position, but we had a pretty good idea of where we were. About 12 days after we departed, we finally saw land. It was about noon and the sun was bright. No clouds, and the seas weren't exactly calm, but not really rough either. The thing was that there wasn't supposed to be land within at least a week's sea travel. We thought we must have read the map wrong, but however we looked at it, it wouldn't make any sense. There was not supposed to be any land anywhere near us. We must have discovered a new island, we thought. But this island was too big. There were trees, several mountains, and a clear beach from where we saw it. No way no one has seen this before. We got really excited, but then logic kicked in. We thought that either we discovered a completely new island, which was very unlikely, or we had simply read the map wrong with our broken compass. The latter obviously was more probable. We decided to go to the island and see if we could talk to someone to see where we were. Good thing we found it, we had thought, since we're obviously this lost that if we had not seen it, we might not come home for a very, very long time. As we approached, we started to see the ocean floor. It wasn't very deep, so we decided to lay anchor and rowed ashore in our little lifeboat. We did feel a little bit like pirates. The sun was out, the sea was calm and clear, and we were heading towards a mystical island that maybe never had been discovered. When we got really close, we saw that there was no bridge near, or even anything near. It was absolutely deserted. We walked onto the land, and the first thing that met us was the skeleton of a sea turtle. A giant sea turtle. No, a fucking massive sea turtle. It was about the size of my goddamn bedroom at home. When we had initially approached it, we thought it was a huge rock or stone or mountain piece or whatever it's called. This was incredible. We started walking along the shoreline to see if we would meet any sort of civilization, and as we turned a corner on the beach, away from the direction we had arrived, we saw a huge sailing ship. It was laying on the shore, but what was it doing there, and how did it even get there? It was beyond me, but it was just laying there, on its side. We were confused about that for a while when we started going towards it. All 7 of us plus our captain. That's when we heard a rustle in the bushes a little bit away from us on our left. We all froze. Our captain asked who was there, but no response. We started looking at each other, and then we noticed that we were now only 6. 2 of us had disappeared under our noses. I yelled after them and looked at the footsteps in the sand. They had been walking in the back of the group, and we saw their footprints, followed by what looked to have been 5 thick, wet ropes. The rope traces led into the bushes from where we heard the rustling. One guy sprinted towards the bush and yelled after the 2 who'd gone. I hesitated and honestly have no idea why. I was just scared and confused, I guess. He went into the bush and we heard him scream. He then quickly stumbled back out and fell. Fuck, this is the worst thing about all of this. I honestly don't even believe myself as I'm writing this. He was pulled back into the bush, and we saw what dragged him. It was a giant octopus-like tentacle, but without those little suckers. Our crewmate screamed even louder and disappeared behind that fucking bush. And the trees behind the bush rustled too. They fucking swayed, and I think I heard one crack, but I didn't see one fall. Our captain just yelled to the remaining 4 of us to get back into the lifeboat. We listened to him and just ran. In that moment, we didn't care about the other 3. We were worried about ourselves. We sprinted as fast as we could to the lifeboat, and we still heard our crew members screaming, along with more trees cracking. As we pushed the boat into the water, we felt the beach shaking, and the giant sea turtle skeleton was pushed away by another one of those fucking green tentacle things that was laying under it, hidden by the sand. We rowed as fast as we could, and we saw one of the guys that had disappeared first come around a corner. His clothes were ruined, and he looked like he had been through hell. We could tell he was moving as fast as he could towards us, but he wasn't that fast. He was limping as well. Then a giant head came up from the forest, and when I say giant, I mean fucking enormous. The head was so large that it actually could lay from the forest and reach the ocean without stretching. At first I thought it was another tentacle, but then it actually rolled towards our guy who was running, and it kept rolling towards him and eventually rolled over him, crushing him. And I think it was a head, because when it had rolled over him, it opened an eye. A big one. We rowed as fast as we could, and we reached our ship and left the island. We looked back and saw that the thing was still trying to get loose. The trees, grass, and everything had grown around it, and its tentacles. It fought and struggled, and eventually got loose. But it didn't follow us. It crawled out into the ocean and swam the other way. I can't describe what it looked like without thinking I'm losing my fucking mind. We all managed to get home eventually, and now, like I said, I will never go out to sea again. I have to tell this story somehow. I tried to talk to cops and the government, even a goddamn marine biologist, but they all thought I was crazy. They are looking into the disappearances of our 3 crew members, but I think they're starting to believe that we killed them. And now I don't know what to do. I don't want to go back to jail, and I can't be quiet about what I saw. I just need to warn someone to not go into the ocean, because it's out there now.